I'm Jacob Kaufman with NerdOnTheStreet.com. It's the 9th of November 2014, and this is Nerd on the Street News. So to start off with this week, we have a Linux story, and it involves OwnCloud. I've done videos on OwnCloud before. OwnCloud is a self-hosted cloud solution. It's got a built-in document editor, kind of like Google Drive. It also allows you to store your files and upload your files from different computers across the entire internet. But you host it on your own server. Because you host it, you have to worry about installing OwnCloud on one of your computers to act as a server. Now there's two ways you can do that. You can either download the OwnCloud files manually and extract them into your web server, or you can install a package if you're on certain Linux distributions. For Ubuntu 14.04, which was a long-term support release, there was an OwnCloud package available, and that package would let you click a button and have OwnCloud install itself rather than you having to install it. Now this package was not an official package on Ubuntu's part or on OwnCloud's part. So here's what happened. Officially, if you want to install OwnCloud on Ubuntu, you're supposed to go through a repository that they set up through the OpenSUSE build service. And that is maintained by the people who make OwnCloud. They recommend using that. However, some people don't want to add the OpenSUSE repository to their system. Some people want to use the default Ubuntu repositories. Some people don't know how to add repositories to their system. So somebody went out and made an OwnCloud package for Ubuntu 14.04. It went in the Universe repository, which is basically Ubuntu's version of the AUR. It's a community-driven repository. It's not supported by Ubuntu or Canonical. It's supported by community members. Unlike the AUR, which is Arch's version of this, Ubuntu's version is enabled by default. So people install Ubuntu and they automatically have all of the Universe packages in their package manager ready to install. They're not installed, obviously. Every package in existence is not installed by default, but they're all available by default. Now, when Ubuntu 14.04 was released, there was an OwnCloud package in the Universe repository that had a security flaw in it. Theoretically, security updates should be pushed to Ubuntu 14.04, and the people who made OwnCloud wanted an update to be pushed to the 14.04 repository. So apparently what they should have done was made the security update themselves, submitted it to the Ubuntu software channels, and tried to go through the bureaucratic process of getting that put into the Ubuntu 14.04 repositories as an update. The OwnCloud people didn't really think that they should do that, because remember, they have an updated repository. They're running it through the OpenSUSE build service. Apparently this package in Universe was not made by anyone officially at OwnCloud. It was made by just a community member who wanted to make it easier for people to install OwnCloud. That community member no longer was updating the package. That's why the security flaw was in the package. And nobody stepped up and updated the package. So the people who make OwnCloud sent a message to an Ubuntu developer mailing list, and they said, hey, there's this outdated package in your system, you really need to remove that. And that's not what you're really supposed to do. Like I said, you're supposed to go through the process of submitting an update for it if you want to submit an update for it. But the OwnCloud people, because they have their own repository which works fine, they say, we've done our job. We've already fixed the security flaw and we've uploaded it to our repository. We're not going to upload it to your repository. That's your job. So Ubuntu and OwnCloud were going back and forth. You do it, no, you do it, no, you do it. And this entire time, the security flawed package was still in the Ubuntu repository. Now eventually somebody from the Kubuntu project saw this and they were like, hey, this is stupid. I'll just write an empty package myself and submit that. So now if you try and download OwnCloud through that repository, it will download an empty package and it will send you to go and get the package from the OpenSUSE build service repository. But yeah, this entire time there was kind of an issue because both sides were completely justified. The Ubuntu team had no obligation at all to support that package because that was in the community repository. At the same time, the OwnCloud people had absolutely no obligation to support that package either because they have their own repository. They weren't the ones who uploaded it to the Ubuntu repository. And that can be a problem with the way that Linux packaging is set up, especially with a ton of different distributions. You know, if Ubuntu was the only distribution around, then the people who make OwnCloud wouldn't have had a problem with submitting a security update through the Ubuntu channels. But imagine if every time they submit a security update, they had to go submit an Ubuntu update, submit an OpenSUSE update, submit a Fedora update, submit an Arch update. Imagine if they had to go to every single freaking Linux distribution every time they made an update. That would really hinder them from updating their software. So that's why they set up their own repository, but then somebody else uploaded their package to the Ubuntu repository and then didn't update it. So yeah, people are kind of scratching their heads and wondering, is there a better way we could do this? Are there policies we can put in place to prevent this kind of thing from happening again? If you want to make sure that you're not impacted by this stuff, then what you can do is you can make sure whenever a project has their own repository, use that project's repository instead of using the distributions repository. Even though the distributions repository is great, it's great that they're providing that convenience. If it's community supported, if it's in the community edition of the repository, then yeah, you might want to go ahead and use the project's repository instead. If software is in the main category of a distributions repository, then that's safe to install because you know the distribution is going to support it. Next up, you know that universal translator from Star Trek? I'm actually about halfway through the Next Generation, and I also watched the original series, and I haven't actually seen the universal translator in action, I don't think. Like, they've mentioned that they used it a couple of times. But yeah, it's this fictional device that translates people's words real time. So two people who speak different languages can walk up to each other and have a fluent conversation. Skype is trying to do that. It's not exactly real time, but it's very, very close to real time. Skype has a new tool that lets you video call with people speaking other languages, and when you say a sentence, then on the other person's screen, it will translate that sentence, put a subtitle at the bottom of their screen, and then it will narrate that sentence aloud using Google Translate. So yeah, this isn't exactly real time, but it's very close. You say a sentence, the other person has to wait a couple seconds, and then they get the translation, then they say a sentence, and you have to wait a couple seconds. It will get faster over time, just like Google Translate has gotten faster over time, and all the other stuff the computers do have gotten faster over time. The article that will be linked to in the description has a list of some common languages that will probably be supported by this. Not too long ago, Microsoft began offering Office for the iPad, but to edit documents, you had to have an Office 365 subscription. Now that's like $70 a year, so some people probably were not happy about that, but people who wanted to use Office on their iPads might have signed up for Office 365 because of it. That's the whole point of charging for the service, is to get people to sign up for it, to use the app. So now the app actually lets you do basic editing without Office 365. Don't worry though, because if you purchased Office 365 specifically for the iPad app, then you will be able to get at least a partial refund, it says. Some advanced features still require an Office 365 subscription. I'm not quite sure what falls under that category. But yeah, if you subscribed to Office 365 from the App Store, you need to contact iTunes support. If you subscribed from Microsoft or a Microsoft reseller, then you need to contact Microsoft support. That link will be in the description as well. The other day, Amazon announced a new product. It's called the Amazon Echo. It's a microphone. It's a little tube that sits there, and this tube is a microphone, and the microphone is always on, listening to you from wherever it is in the room. On the surface, it's basically a Siri in a tube. It's a personal assistant. You can ask it things. You can say, what's the weather like? You can tell it to set an alarm. You can ask it for, information about things. You can ask it to search the web for topics. The default name that you use is Alexa, but they say that you will probably be able to change that to different names. But before we all go and jump on this, first of all, let's take a look at two aspects of it. One, it's always on, always listening to you. That's a privacy concern. But even without my tinfoil hat on. Two, the entire point of the device is, of course, it's Amazon. They're trying to get you to buy stuff. So what you can do is you can ask this thing to order you stuff. Well, actually not yet, you can't. Right now you can ask this thing to add things to your shopping list or your shopping cart. You can say, Alexa, add this to my shopping cart. So if you just think of something you want or need, or you come across something that you need, then you can tell it to add it to your shopping cart. You still need to go online to Amazon's website right now and order stuff through the shopping cart, but you won't have to go and browse for it because this thing will already have added it to your cart. This TechCrunch article, though, takes a look at how this could transform into just ordering you stuff. Amazon Prime members get this thing for half off because Amazon Prime members get free shipping, and they're going to be paying for more stuff and buying more stuff from Amazon. And Amazon Prime members have one-click ordering enabled, or they can have one-click ordering enabled, where all they have to do is click buy on an item. Don't have to enter credit card numbers, don't have to enter shipping stuff. All they do is click buy, and it orders it. This device could bring no-click shopping to reality, and that would be kind of, impulse buying taken to a new level, just saying, hey, buy this, and it buys it for you, and a couple days later it's at your doorstep, or the same day it's on your doorstep with the new drone stuff that they're doing. So yeah, definitely futuristic. Not necessarily going to do well. If it did do well, then it would change the way that we think about online shopping, or it could change the way that we think about online shopping. But Amazon kind of tried to do the same thing with the Fire Phone. The Fire Phone was, hey, here's a great smartphone, and by the way, it also lets you buy stuff. This new Amazon Echo device is hey, here's a great digital assistant, and by the way, it also lets you buy stuff. So they're kind of trying to use the same strategy. Not necessarily going to work, but we'll see. A few months ago, you may have read stories online about Google having barges on like rivers and lakes and things. Yeah, barges, like big, slow, square boats. And the last I read, I thought that they were being used for like data center production. I thought that they were like trying to make barges into data centers, like using barges as portable data centers. I don't know. Apparently they were not anything exciting. Some people thought that Google was using these barges for experimental, crazy projects. Turns out that these barges were just retail showrooms for Google Glass. So a retail store that you can take to different parts of the country. So that would still be neat. Not quite as cool as like, I don't know what people were expecting. Like some people thought that they were using these barges for developing a project to prevent death. Just preventing death altogether. But yeah, nothing like that. They were just retail showrooms, and they have been shut down due to fire safety concerns. Apparently they did not meet the accessibility requirements of some building codes. So yeah, that's something. I think I talked about a couple weeks ago the Home Depot hacking thing. 53 million customer credit cards were hacked in the Home Depot hacking thing, and now Home Depot found out that the hackers also got 53 million customer email addresses. So you might be getting some spam in the near future if you shop at the Home Depot. Of course, why does it matter if one more company is sending you spam? Well, now that they have your old credit card number, they can say, hey, this is if they just say, hey, this is your cable company, then you'll be like, no, you're not my cable company. If they say, hey, this is your cable company and here's your old credit card number to prove that we're who we say we are, you might believe them. Let's be honest, nobody watching this is probably going to fall for phishing things, but, some people might fall for phishing things. So yeah, email addresses were also stolen. I found a story about 3 drone pilots who were arrested in France after they were suspected to have flown drones over nuclear power generation sites. They were just released. They actually found the wrong people. So they arrested these people and they were holding them for a little bit, and yeah, now they find out, oh, whoops, you're not actually the people we were supposed to arrest. So that's great right there. But also, I thought I should just mention, the government's working on drone projects. Governments all over the world are working on drone projects, using drones for their own purposes. And if we don't like drones flying over things, well, that sucks for us. But then as soon as civilians start flying drones over government areas, they start arresting people. Not gonna go on a rant today, just not in the mood for a rant today, but thought I'd throw that thought out there. And finally, I found a nice piece on TechCrunch about why DRM is bad and why it leads to piracy. It does not prevent piracy, it leads to it. Because when you have content that you want to consume, but you cannot consume it due to DRM protection on it, then you might go and try and download it off of an illegitimate website instead, because you can watch it off of an illegitimate website maybe easier than you can watch it off of a legally purchased copy of a DVD or something. For instance, let's say you want to copy a DVD so that you can watch it on your tablet, which doesn't have a DVD player. You can't really do that because DVDs are copy protected. I mean, you can do that. You can totally, it's super easy, but you're not supposed to do that. So no matter what you do, you cannot legally watch your DVD on your tablet, which sucks. Without DRM protection, you could legally copy the DVD and put it on your tablet and watch it, and you paid for it, so, shouldn't you be able to do that? So yeah, that's our fun article for this week. Be sure to check out nerdonthestreet.com for all of the other content we released this week. Also, remember we have a subreddit just for this show, reddit.com/r/nerdonthestreet. Submit stories you think are interesting, and I will talk about them. For now, though, that's all I have. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. See ya.